Coming up this morning on the Dattitude podcast, the rumor mill has been quiet for a couple of days. Very quiet. Almost eerily quiet. Who's the next Saints coach going to be? We assume it's Kellen Moore, but this is the third time we have made an assumption in 3 weeks. You know what they say about assuming, right? You can say it. Say it in your head. If it's Moore, can he come in here and begin to fix things right away, or is this a long-range project? Would he be able to work with Derek Carr? Would the Saints contemplate drafting, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to say this on my show, Jackson Dart? Would they use a first-round pick on a quarterback in a quarterback-light draft? Lots of questions for our friend Larry Holder of The Athletic as we prepare for Super Bowl week. Gabe is here as well to impart some knowledge I couldn't get anywhere else. Maybe he has an answer on who the next Saints coach will be. Let the surprises begin as we have fun closing out the month of January. Let's go.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? You heard back from the Saints yet? You know, your application to be the next coach. If you get the job, don't forget where you came from. You can announce it here on the show. If any of you watching out there hear back, you have your interview, let us know how it's going. You can announce it on Dattitude that you are the next coach of the New Orleans Saints. I can't wait to get that. It's going to be somebody. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's Rocky. Maybe it's, can you imagine if Randall was the next coach of the New Orleans Saints? How would that go? What about Uncle Big Nick? He'd lose on purpose. You want to tank, hire Uncle Big Nick, he'd lose on purpose. We'll see what happens. So much to talk about on this final show of January. So let me confirm that this is Dattitude, episode number 339, presented by Evangeline Securities for a January 31st, Friday, January 31st, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Derry, 34 and a half years on the New Orleans sports media scene. I thought I've seen it all. You've never seen it all, right? You've never seen it all. No matter what you do, you've never, like people say, oh, I've seen it all now. No, you haven't. You haven't. There's always more to see. If you watch the Saints long enough, you'll find something new like every week. Everybody else has had a coach for like a week and a half now. I'm starting to get a little sour. I might be a little sour on the show. Zach told me, he said he doesn't know what's going on and he doesn't understand why I've been played role reversal. I don't know. Maybe I've been giving the Saints too much of a break. Who knows? Maybe that changed today. Maybe it doesn't. You can be a part of the show. You don't have to give the Saints a break, or you can be nice, whatever. You want to be uber positive, you want to be uber negative, whatever. We're going to have it all today. I got a feeling. You can type in your comment, whether it be on YouTube or whether it be on YouTube or Facebook. Obviously, if you're watching live, we're live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. If you're watching after the fact, you can send me a note, either on X at Jim Derry Jr. or via email at jderry@theadvocate.com. Please, if you haven't already done so, we had a lot of subscribers this week. It's great. People are starting to move over. If you're watching on Facebook, you want to be a part of the Dattitude family, you'll always get updated. Go find us on YouTube. That's where the family lives. All right. Some comments time. We don't have as many as usual. We do have a lot of our regulars are here. Rocky's here. Good morning. Of course, Randall's here. Imagine if he was a coach of the New Orleans Saints. Apathy. Getting right into it. There's just no way Moore doesn't have an eye-wink deal in place to take this job this late with 3 other candidates who really want the job waiting. There ain't 3 other candidates. Saints don't have any other candidates. The Saints can't do or say anything until February 10th. That's not true. The Saints can say whatever the hell they want to say. If the Saints can come out and say they have they probably wouldn't. But let me tell you something. If this deal is finalized, if these two sides agree to a deal, it's going to get out. Agents have very loose lips. Let's just put it that way. There's no way this is staying quiet. So if Kellen Moore is hired, we're all going to know about it. Almost as soon as it happens. Got some things to talk about, some things that Gabe sent me this morning that I went and checked out. Interesting podcast that we're going to talk about in just a moment. Not my own. Gary, good morning. How are you? Kyle Sherman. Come on. It's not working. Just don't want to work this morning. Kellen will be announced the Monday after the Super Bowl. I hope so. I think we'll know if they come to an agreement, there's no way it lasts until Monday after the Super Bowl. Everyone will know. Good morning, Dattitude. Knowles, absolutely. That's Callie. Good morning. Let's see. Yeah, absolutely. Prayers for the folks who perished in the DC plane crash. It seems like we've been having a lot of moments like this in 2025 already. I mean, seriously. So absolutely prayers. The figure skating community indeed is devastated. I mean, you all know what I'm talking about by now, but it seems like I've started a lot of shows the last month or so with these kinds of comments. Sad. Rocky, I would be your GM. I think Nick Braden should be your GM over at Evangeline Securities. Talk about that in a minute. One Smoke says he needs to put an application in to be a GM. I hear you. Lisa Brown, good morning. Welcome to the Dattitude family. What up? Who dat for life, ride or die? Look. I am trying to stay as positive as possible. Who dat, Daddy? Who dat, family? What's going on this morning? It's Friday morning. It's Friday, but I'm probably going to take Sunday off. But honestly, man, there's so much going on. I don't know that I'm really going to have a full day off again until the Tuesday after the Super Bowl. Maybe. I don't know. Corey Terrio says they just called him. He's been in the building. He's going to be are you going to be in the building Monday at 6 a.m.? All right. Monday at 11 a.m. No, we're on at 1 p.m. Monday. You can announce, Corey Terrio, you can announce that you got the job on Dattitude 1 p.m. on Monday. I'll be on Radio Row. In fact, come on over to Radio Row, and you can sit with me and announce that you're the next coach of the New Orleans Saints. Devon Harding, still got the same GM. We might have the same GM 10 years from now. If he doesn't want to leave, we'll have the same GM 10 years from now. Charles Mangus, good morning. Good morning to the Dattitude family. Had to make your double dolce latte and your new espresso machine. Well, congratulations to you. I've been having issues with my ear, so I'm trying to lay off the caffeine a little bit. So we just is it okay to drink out of a straw on live? Doesn't look right. Gabe's doing it, but he's not on camera. Anyway, shout out to my boys at Racetrack and my gals at Racetrack. Dylan Smith is here. Good morning, Dylan. Caribbean, cool, you are correct. It is Kellen Moore, or what about Lance Moore? Think Lance Moore would want the job? I don't know. I ain't feeling real good about this right now. I got to say, this morning I woke up and started thinking about it. And then I felt worse when Gabe gave me some news this morning. Again, I'm going to get to that in a minute. I don't want to spoil it. Chef Charles Schulman. Hi from Baltimore. Welcome. Are you a Saints fan? Are you a Ravens fan? Are you just checking us out? What's up? Welcome to the show. Giovanni Martinez. Any chance that Kellen Moore backs out of the deal? There's no deal. Of course there's a chance. There's a chance that look, there's no deal. So, if he decides that he doesn't want to be the coach of the Saints, now, I think using common sense, we know that the Saints definitely want him. They're not doing, if they wanted to hire Anthony Weaver or Mike Kafka or Darren Rizzi, they could have done it already. They've already fulfilled all their requirements. They can hire whoever they want now. They're waiting for Kellen Moore. There hasn't been a peep in 2.5 days now. Don't know. Curtis Spurlock III. Good morning. First time. Welcome to the Dattitude family. Let's see what we got. Ian Evans. Next year in the 2026 Super Bowl. Next year, who in the 2026 Super Bowl? Not sure. Why is everybody saying it's my show? I don't understand what do they mean by that? Gabe, do you get it? He's going to type it in. Barry Ulay, good morning. Will this be the latest date the Saints have signed a new head coach? No, I don't think. I think Dennis Allen was signed in February, if I remember correctly. The straw. Oh, the straw deal. Okay. So because it's my show, I can use a straw. Just doesn't look right. Maybe I'll take the top. Here's the problem though. If I take the top off of this cup and I just drink it out of the cup, it's gonna spill. Just in my head, I know it's gonna spill. I don't know. Corey said he told Gail Mickey is out and he wants me as a GM. I don't know if that would work out. Chad Gage, who would be next in line if Kellen Moore were to back out? Oh my God, I don't even want to think about it. My answer to that is tough. Okay. I was asked this yesterday, one on the Eric Asher Inside New Orleans TV show with Garland Gillen. If you hadn't found it, you want to watch it, you can find it. You just search for WLAE TV. We talked about that. I think Eric thinks it's Rizzy, and I don't. I really don't think they want Rizzy in any shape or form. That's my opinion. I think there's a good chance that Rizzy would stay on as special teams coordinator, maybe he goes to Denver. I don't know. But my choice is if they, God forbid, they don't hire Kellen Moore, I'd probably go to like Anthony Weaver. I mean, almost by default. I don't want Rizzy. I've talked about this already. I'm not talking about this again. Kafka is, why would you hire a guy who's the offensive coordinator for Daniel Jones? Don't get me started. So my answer is I hope it's Anthony Weaver. A-Town, good morning. Shout out to Smoothie King. Okay, you can give a shout out to Smoothie King. I'm cool. We give free plugs every now and then for your Incredible Hulk smoothie. If I can shout out to Racetrack, other members of the Dattitude family can give shout outs to wherever they visit. Apathy says, if it's Mike Kafka or Rizzy, he might drink his first beer in 13 years. Woo! Please don't do that. If you made it 13 years not drinking a beer, don't let the Saints be the one that drive you to a beer. You know, I haven't smoked in 2 years. Okay. I'm not going to go smoking if the Saints bring Rizzy back. Don't do it. Brian Bradshaw, how do we go from 2-0 in Super Bowl? They were never Super Bowl. Come on, Brian. And no one wants to coach us. I don't think the effect of Dennis Allen and the non-vision, the lack of vision, I should say, to see what this team needed in the trenches. You could never there was no depth in the trenches whatsoever. Once Eric McCoy got hurt, I said this in August, if he got hurt or Derek Carr got hurt, the snowball would start rolling. It did. So, first of all, they were never Super Bowl contenders. Let's get real. And I told you I didn't really believe it then. You tried to enjoy it. When you beat Dallas and you go 2-0, and you didn't just beat Dallas, you whoop up on Dallas. Ugh. But could we go back to that time? That's when everything was fun. Although Dennis Allen was the coach then. John Carter, who dat from D.C.? You still have your house in NOLA? Well, welcome. Got a lot of newbies this morning. All right. Larry is going to be coming on to the show in a little bit. Gabe is later on. Before we get to Larry, before we get to Gabe, let me tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they are a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. if that is you or someone you know, give them the word, spread the word about Evangeline Securities. It's time to reach out to the company's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemel. By the way, we told you earlier in the week that Nick already turned the Saints down, which is why Corey Terrio got the call, because Nick turned him down. However, Nick did say that he would be interested in Mickey's job if he ever were to retire in like 10 or 15 years. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe the Saints would have already hired Aaron Glenn if Nick Braden was in charge. I digress again. But how will they find out what my business is worth, Jim Derry? I'm glad you asked. Evangeline will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from their offices either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. And from there, you will be able to be informed to start the decision process on if you want to decide to proceed. Did that make sense? Let me start that over. You will be well informed to begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. See, that's why I need to read from the script. Because if I try to ad lib, I screw it up. Sorry, Nick. What happens after that, we'll fill you in more. We get to Gabe. But in the meantime, you can check him out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. I don't know. I must have ate my Buddy D breakfast or something. I'm fumbling this morning. Again, Larry Holder coming on the show in just a little bit. We're going to talk. It's going to be mostly about Kellen Moore and do we think he's ready? What kind of changes do we think he would make? We talked about. We're going to talk about whether the Saints actually would use a first-round draft pick on a quarterback. I mean, I've made it clear, anybody who's watched the show more than 3 times, maybe less than that if you watch the right show, knows I think that they've got to start in the trenches, okay? If you don't start in the trenches, doesn't matter. Where will Kellen Moore want to start? Where would he want to start? Is it really Kellen Moore, by the way? We're going to talk about Super Bowl 59 early talk, get some thoughts from Larry on that. But Gabe had some scoop for me this morning. I almost changed my title slide, decided not to. Because it was kind of just a mention in her podcast. I don't know if she says this to stir the pot or she actually heard this. And she's on a show, or her podcast called Scoop City. It's on there with Chase Daniel, former New Orleans Saints backup quarterback. They were talking about the coaching search for the Saints. And she says, quote, there was, quote, scuttlebutt. And they talk about how they like the word scuttlebutt is a pretty cool word, by the way. There was scuttlebutt that Kellen Moore might not want the job, which I don't believe for a second. I'm sorry. I could be proven wrong. I've been proven wrong before. Hell, I've been proven wrong in the last week. But I can't believe Kellen Moore doesn't want the job. But she kind of quantified that later on. She said, but, quote, he's coming around to it. What does that even mean? He might not want the job, but he's coming around to it. Let me tell you something. If you're an offensive coordinator, and you've been an offensive coordinator for 6 or 7 years, and you got a chance to be a head coach in the NFL, I mean, and I were your agent, I wouldn't be your agent anymore if you turned down a head coaching job in the NFL. You don't ever know if you're going to get a chance again. What happens if, okay, Kellen Moore says, first of all, we can go back. I don't care what anybody says. I'm telling you right now, Joe Brady didn't want the job. He was told he wasn't getting the job. These guys don't turn these jobs down. It's crazy. So I don't believe, and Chase Daniel was like, what you talking about, Willis? Because obviously Chase Daniel, good friends with Drew Brees, in the know. And when she said, I heard the interview went well, Chase Daniel says, yeah, I heard that too. He had a little smirk on his face. I think something's close. I said earlier in the week to prove that I can be wrong. And look, I'll tell you when I'm wrong. I'll also tell you when I'm right. I thought there would be a deal done. I said Monday by the end of the week. Here we are on Friday. There's no deal done, at least none that we know of. Now, they can't sign on the dotted line until after the Super Bowl if it's Kellen Moore. But that doesn't mean it's not going to get out. We've seen it before where coaches are on the side, assistant coaches on the sideline, and they're saying this is their last game, and everybody knows their last game, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You can't sign that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So anyway, Larry's in the green room. We are about to get to him. We're going to talk to Larry about Saints. We can talk to Larry about Super Bowl 59, some early talk on that. Again, Gabe's going to come on. I have no idea what Gabe's got for me today. Zero clue. We'll see what he's got for me. And then if you're around tonight and doing nothing, I'm going to be doing play-by-play biggest basketball game, regular season basketball game of the year, prep basketball in Louisiana. Number 1 Shaw versus number 1 Zachary. How can they both be number 1? Zachary is number 1 in Division I non-select. Don't get me started on all that. Shaw is number 1 in Division II select. They're playing each other at Shaw tonight. I will be doing play-by-play on VSN with Jim Rapier. That should be a lot of fun. A couple of comments real quick before we get to Larry. There you go. Barry confirms Dennis Allen was hired on February 8th, 2022. So the answer is no. There are other ones that were hired later than that, I'm sure. Who dat? Daddy says everyone that turned the job down knew they weren't getting the job. These agents talk. Absolutely agree with that. And Charles, I know you want to talk about something else sometimes. LSU baseball is number 2. I saw that they were number 4. So there's a bunch of different polls when it comes to college baseball. We'll start all of that after the Super Bowl. And again, last thing before we get to Larry, a programming note next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from Radio Row. Show is at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then Friday, the show, I will be here in my home studio. Will not be on Radio Row on Friday. Thursday, I'm going to take the day off. Friday, we'll be here from the home studio. I'm not sure if we're going to do 11 or 1. We'll figure that out next week. So there you go. There's your programming note. Time to get to what's really important. Well, besides Evangeline Securities, of course. And that is Larry Holder, the greatest baseball card, football card, sporting card writer on the planet. He works for The Athletic, and I couldn't be any more proud to have him here on my show this morning.
Well, it helps when there ain't too many of us. So there you go.
You know, it's funny because when I first got this sports betting writer gig, I was literally, I hate that word, and I just used it here. But anyway, I was apparently the first sports betting writer at a newspaper in the country, so I was told.
Come on, Vegas didn't have them? Come on.
That's what I hear. That's what they told me.
Well, it's
worth
the time. Trust me, people read it.
Well, for a short period of time, I could say I was the best sports betting writer at any newspaper in the planet.
Well, I'm going to strive to continue because I'm willing to bet other outlets will actually jump into the space to cover it. So I'll have to be on my toes.
You're going to be a trendsetter, Larry Holder. You're always a trendsetter. Let's set some trends here this morning. Talk about the Saints coaching search, which really isn't much different than when you were on here last Friday, except the fact that Mike McCarthy is no longer a candidate to be a coach for the New Orleans Saints. He took his name out of the running. I'm just going to ask you straight up. Is the job that bad? Do people really – am I wrong in saying that, you know, the Saints have their sights set on someone, or is everyone else right saying the job's just that bad and nobody wants it?
I think it depends on which candidate you talk to. So I could see Mike McCarthy saying, I don't really want any part of this.
Yep.
But and I heard you just briefly talking about, you know, look, you don't turn these jobs down publicly if you are, say, an assistant who has never been a head coach and still actually has probably something to prove that they deserve a head coaching job. Your name's not getting pulled out. Like, you're not saying, I mean, Ben Johnson was probably like a rare exception last year. But still, usually that indicates
a rare exception
that someone has the intel that job is going to be taken. And obviously we all think it's going to be Kellen Moore, except like my colleague Diana Rossini says that might be a bit of a question. And I don't blame the question because it goes on every single theory that I tell you every single time when I come on here, and it's all about the quarterback. There's a reason why Ben Johnson is with Chicago, because he feels like he can build a quarterback.
It's like you're in my office here reading the top 2 notes that I have for this segment. Okay. I'm going to read directly from my notes. I don't usually do this. I'm going to give some insight.
They don't know you sent me the Google Doc or I hacked it.
It says, bring in Larry, ... The Athletic's Diana Rossini says in her podcast, quote, Scoop City, there was scuttlebutt that Kellen Moore might not want the job, but that he's coming around to it. What does that even mean?
Maybe he needs to be convinced. More money. That sounds like more money. That sounds like an agent putting that out there and saying, he needs to be convinced. Let's get Ted DiBiase out here with the with money.
He could be persuaded to be the coach of the New Orleans Saints. Maybe if we throw in an extra $1 or $2,
or like 8, guaranteed.
What is an average NFL? And I don't need you to go look up. Just give me a roundabout number because I have no idea. What does an average NFL coach make per year these days? About?
Oh my gosh. I think it's just, you have to even out the top dollar and the bottom dollar. And I wish, I don't have a good gauge on it. I mean, I'd be guessing. I'll say 7.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I think that's about right.
If you're averaging the big boys and the people on the bottom.
I could see Gabe typing away right now. He's like looking it up. I know that he's looking it up. Charles says, good morning to the voice of NOLA Sports, Larry Holder. Who that daddy says hello to you, Larry.
Morning, everyone.
That's Callie as well.
Happy to be here.
Gabe says wow, Larry Holder. It's impressive. The average salary for an NFL coach today is $6.6 million. Okay. I'd say that I'd give you, if we weren't playing Jeopardy, you would have got the thumbs up on that. And I would have.
But I went over that on Price is Right. I'd be done.
You'd be done on Price is Right. On Jeopardy, you would get a thumbs up because that's rounded off. It's rounded off to $7 million. Look, I just don't. I think realistically, they can play these games all they want. And when the Saints flew out to Philly on Monday, I was so set that it was going to be McCarthy. I couldn't really see the forest through the trees, I guess. I thought they were just playing a game of chicken with McCarthy, but I think now that they flew out to, looking back on it, in hindsight's 2020, at some point they set their sights on Kellen Moore. It could have been as quickly as once Aaron Glenn said no, for all we know.
Yeah, and like you said, like I said when I was listening in briefly, look, agents talk. We all know this what goes around and what's being said and what's you hear some of it publicly, but there's obviously a lot more chatter going on within people in the industry, and that's a pretty telltale sign. I do find it funny that the Eagles will be at the Saints facility, so Kellen could just go upstairs. Check out the office. He could go take a shower.
He could clog the toilet.
Right. And the Saints, their personnel's not supposed to be there.
Oh, wait, that's Rizzy. Sorry.
But Mickey, Mickey might have left his keys or something behind, and he just happens to go in, and there we go.
You think he would go check it out and see what it looks like?
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
Like, I could tell him. I've been in there enough. I could give him when I happened to run into him on Monday night at the Super Bowl media night, Insanity. I'll give him like a map of where he.
I've been at I've been in the owner's office, but I've never been in the coach's office. How weird is that? I don't know. Anyway, not that anyone cares about all that. All right, look. Sean says Derek Carr is going to be a June 1 cut. That leads into, if Kellen Moore were to be the coach, so for the next 10, 15 minutes or so, let's just assume that it's going to be Kellen Moore. Okay. Where does he go? What do you think that he would contemplate? I think that coming in, I completely disagree with Sean. I don't think the Saints are going to be willing to take this cut. I think if it is Kellen Moore, he's like, look, we're going to keep Derek Carr for a year. We'll see what happens. After that, it's a lot easier to get rid of him. We're going to eat that salary this year. It'd be silly to just eat $50 million of dead cap money. I don't think and nobody wants to eat $50 million. They're just going to just keep Derek Carr, work with him. We'll go from there. But it's got to be Derek Carr next year, right?
And I apologize for bringing back someone I'm not supposed to mention ever again. You can't have ties
Hold
to
on.
Sean Payton, but I could see, and exactly, take it away. He basically walked in and said, "All right, I give it a year with Russell Wilson, and if I don't like it, we're done with it."
Oh God, come on.
And be a same way, Kellen Moore. If you
Uh,
don't like Derek Carr for a year, we're done with him.
Really? I mean, I guess it's a possibility, but then you still
Look. I'm just speaking hypothetically.
Salary though, you still have to eat the salary.
They had to eat Russell's salary. Oh well,
But how would you even bring in Russell Wilson though?
No, I'm not saying the Saints are bringing in Russell Wilson.
Okay.
No.
I misunderstand. I thought you meant okay.
I'm saying that Sean had to work with Russell for a year.
I got you.
Then he didn't like him anymore. Get rid of him. I don't care what it costs. I'm going to go find my quarterback.
Right. Okay.
That is what it could be.
And that would make a lot of sense. Who that daddy? Kellen goes sit in the big chair and go, wee. Absolutely, he can. I mean, he can do whatever he wants. You know, that'd be a lot of fun. Just test it out, see if it spins around. Maybe order a new chair. Who knows? Look, I think that's just the case. I think that you have to, and who knows? I mean, I know people probably don't want to hear this, but it may work out. I mean, if Kellen Moore comes in, what happens if I've talked about this. The Saints go out and get some help in the trenches. They get one more offensive lineman, which makes them, I don't know, let's say the 22nd best offensive line in the NFL. I think the Athletic had them, what did y'all have them? Like 26th or 27th, somewhere around there? At the end of the year? It was somewhere around there. Anyway, let's just say they can move up 4 or 5 spots and be a little worse than average, okay? I think if their offensive line gets to a point where they're a little worse than average, 20th, 22nd somewhere, and Derek Carr doesn't get hurt, who knows what this team could do on offense? If you look who's coming back, you assume Chris Olave is coming back from the concussion. You assume Rashid Shaheed will be fine. Alvin Kamara, we know, is coming back. We don't know about Taysom. But, I mean, to be honest, this offense has a chance to be decent next year.
I agree. And you wonder what would have happened if all those pieces were available the entire season. But still, we don't know. And I do think, though, that the next coach that comes in, you want to have a long-term plan at quarterback. Derek Carr is not long-term.
No doubt.
Not long-term.
I agree 100%.
So you have to pivot at some point. And what's crazy is that the Vikings, look at them. They're in a weird scenario where they actually have what they think is the long-term answer, and they're debating. Like the Saints don't even have their long-term answer.
I agree. The long-term answer is not anywhere near this roster right now.
So it's such a weird environment.
And he may not be when they start the season next year. This in 8 months or whatever. He may not still be on the roster then.
Unless the Saints love some quarterback. I'm telling you, we're very early on in draft Nick time, Senior Bowl time. You're wondering if someone's gonna jump on up. It's not like people thought Michael Penix would be number 8. It's not like people thought Bo Nix would be 12.
That's true.
This could happen. And I think that correctly, Atlanta did what they had to do, and now they're in a good spot. The Broncos did what they had to do, and they're in a good spot. Look, that goes against what guys I absolutely trust. Our drafts experts at The Athletic, they had Penix and Nix nowhere near where they were drafted.
Right.
And those are going to pan out. So, but and that's a lot of times you see when quarterbacks are taken too high and it doesn't match the prospect, usually it goes south. Or sometimes, like, you'll hear hype, and you bring up someone like 2 years ago. There was hype with Matt Corral. There was hype with Malik Willis. Right. And then Kenny Pickett went 22nd, 20th. So, you hear this and maybe that doesn't pan out. But I'm willing to bet like somewhere a quarterback or two people are going to be talking to people, and they're going to see some trickle up. Would the Saints be willing to do that? Maybe the coach says, if I love this quarterback, I want him at 9.
Well, look, here's a comment, and look, I hope the Saints don't do this, but it's a possibility, and it's the number 2 question on my list. If I can get it to, I don't know what is going on with my Mouse this morning. William says, I know you are not a big on Jackson Dart. I am not, but he is soaring up the draft boards, and the Saints are rumored to move on from Carr. I haven't seen a single rumor that's legit that says the Saints are moving on from Carr, by the way. I'm a believer Dart will be a better quarterback than Rattler and Haener. Maybe, but you don't spend the 9th pick of the draft because he's better than Rattler and Haener. I mean, you can get better than Rattler and Haener all sorts of ways.
Exactly. And yet, where might that, if the Saints went that route, what if they feel, all right, we could trade back and maybe get somebody? But I don't think there's anybody that, oh my gosh, people are so up in arms right now that they want to trade up and go get number 9. But that could change. I mean, look, we're months away from really all of that moving forward. But still, it could happen. I'm not saying it will, but there's no question in my mind that potential coaches see what the Saints are at quarterback. And then I can laundry list a whole bunch of other issues.
You think about
but they need a future plan. Like of the teams, I'm trying to go through my head. Of the teams that had new coaches, which ones have quarterbacks that you say, all right, these are the guys going forward, and which ones don't? I mean, the Raiders don't. The Saints don't. I mean, the Bears do.
Sort of.
The Bears do. The Patriots do. The Jets don't. Which one am I missing?
You're missing the
Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys.
They do.
They do, right.
So it's half and half.
Jacksonville does,
yes.
Paz, man.
Even though I don't know, man. Trevor Lawrence, whoo boy.
Yeah, I think
his
they're stuck with him at least for a little
fallen,
bit.
But look, that can change.
The Duval guy is gonna stick.
Well, they're pinned to him. I mean, my gosh, they invested the money. What are you gonna do?
I don't know. Paz, man, I don't mean this to be a slight on you. I appreciate you for being new to the Dattitude family, but absolutely bleepity bleep not. Give Rattler this year. See what you got. We saw what we got. The dude went 0-6. He can't read a Christmas book to his kids. Have Carr as an expensive backup. No,
that's not happening. None of that is happening.
No.
That's the easiest way to never hire a coach.
Exactly. Not saying. Hakeem, good morning. Welcome to the show. If Carr is here, then you're really saying you don't want change. That's not what I'm saying at all. Just save the $30 million. You're not saving anything. You can't save anything. Getting rid of Carr, you don't save anything by getting rid of Carr. That's the whole point. I'm saying, and I think Larry, who doesn't like Derek Carr, he's not going to just come out and say, I don't like Derek Carr. But through his words, he is not a fan of Derek Carr.
That is not what I'm saying.
He might want to have a beer with Derek
Not
Carr,
a fan of anybody, but hey, except baseball card writers, and I'm number one. So I just know what his ceiling is. That's it.
My point on this though is it just because one would say you want Carr to stay for a year doesn't mean you don't want change. The point is you can't realistically go through a season unless you're one of those morons who says just tank and get Arch, because if you tank, you're automatically going to get Arch, and B, Arch is automatically going to be this great NFL quarterback. You don't know if he's going to be a great quarterback.
By the way,
you don't know if tanking's good enough. I bet
Arch plays 2 seasons in Austin, so you're not getting him after this year.
He might. He's
not playing 2.
But the point is
1 season in
the Austin. Point is that doesn't necessarily mean we're not for change. For change after next year, you can't just come in here and say, you know what, we're scrapping everything. Now, in the grand scheme of things, I think in 3 years, this team is going to look completely different. And when I say completely, I mean completely. I don't think you're going to. We gave the over-under. We've talked about over-under on players on this roster that are at least we're on the roster during the 2024 season that will be on the roster at the start of the 2027 season. And I put it at 9.5. And I think I would take the under just barely. I don't think this team's going to look completely different. Doesn't mean we don't want to change, but it doesn't mean you can just go out and cut the guy that's making $50 million next year in dead cap space either. You've got to get some use out of him.
They can't afford to make all those changes and be a viable, try to win games team. Like that can't happen. And so they're not going to go and say, "Oh, year one, let's just tank it."
Right.
Look, Gerard Mayo, he got 1 year and then he was gone. And now, Mike Vrabel's coming in and now he's probably in a better spot. But look, that is not the way this team is going to operate because there's no guarantee you can turn it around anyway. So they're going to try to win games now. That's the whole point of the league. Why would you not try to win games now?
Bruce Chappelle says you can't judge Rattler off a few games, plus he's never had his full arsenal. I don't need one more play to judge Rattler. We've been through this, and I don't want to spend too much time on this show that's supposed to be about Kellen Moore on Spencer Rattler, who's never going to be an NFL quarterback. If I'm wrong, I'll eat paper for that too. Spencer Rattler is never going to be a starting NFL quarterback in this league. He cannot. He goes to his first read, he gets sacked, or he commits a turnover. One of those three things happens every time that he touches the football. So anyway, that's it on that. Good one here, morning crew. Everyone is talking about the Saints need a quarterback, says Raymond Woods, but no quarterback. And I agree with this 100%. No quarterback will be successful if the O-line isn't fixed. And Larry, that's why I think going into this year and this draft, and I said this yesterday, I think 1 and 2 drafts picks 1 and 2. It doesn't really matter that I would rather see him take O-line in the first round, but 1 and 2, if you don't trade down, need to be O-line, D-line. And if it's D-line first round, O-line second round, fine. But to me, those are the two positions that you need to look at first.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with that at all. I mean, there are holes all over the place on the roster. We're just focusing on quarterback because, if you don't have one in this league, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
So when you look at it, the Saints have other needs. Like, here's the thing. I agree with Jim's premise that you look at the landscape and look at what's available and look what's not available. Like Derek Carr, if they have to play Derek Carr next year, that's not bad. It's just you're only going to go so far. You're not going to go.
But the chance are you go get anyone else, you're not going to be.
I agree. I agree. So again, offensive line, there's an issue there. Like defensive line, you need help there. Like that. Those are places you need help. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. So I agree with you, but it's like you're in worse shape in those two spots than maybe you are at your starting quarterback. Like I said, Derek Carr is a middle of the road quarterback. They're much worse that are playing right now, but there are much better that are playing right now. Their O-line, they need help regardless of who's back there. D-line, you need to be better there too. So I completely agree.
Hakeem says, and look, I'd like to have in the offseason at some point have a salary cap expert to come on here. But the way that I understand, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Hakeem says post one cut means by saving, you don't save anything. The only thing you can do if you cut him post June 1 is you can deflect his salary, part of the dead cap money into 2026, but you don't want to do that. That's my whole point. You're going to eat the $50 million one way or the other, whether it's $25 million this year, $25 million next year, or $50 million this year. And I think that because this team can get out of salary cap hell after this year, if they just eat it, we say they got a lot of salaries coming off the books, including the $50 million dead cap money. They are actually being plus territory after this year is over if they don't kick the can again. And so that's why I'm saying just take the $50 million, let Derek Carr be the quarterback. But is that the way you understand it as well? You're not going to save any money cutting him after June 1, I don't think.
You look,
like $4 million.
I'm looking it up over the cap, and you do save $30 million, but it's not like right away. Like that's the thing. You're still $21 million will still be on the books. Now when is that like paired up or anything? Let me. I'm going to go through it right here.
Yeah, explain it to me.
I don't understand. You would count. You would have $21 million in dead money this year if you cut him. But then if you cut him after 25, you'll only have $11 million, and you would save $50 million if he's a post-June cut after that. So look, you are saving money.
But
you are saving money but you're still spending money too. Like, so,
Right.
I mean, how much do you want to, like, if he's a post-June, do you want to give him 21, do you want him to count 21 million against you and you have nobody? Like, you better have somebody.
Right.
That's the thing. You better have somebody. So
you can't wait till June 1 to go find a quarterback.
I mean, that's not a viable option.
Yeah.
Like, you would have to bring in someone knowing they're going to replace him, and then if you cut him, you deem him a June 1st cut.
I get how much people who watch this show on a regular basis, and not just people who watch the show, Saints fans in general, I get how much y'all hate Derek Carr, okay? I'm not on that same boat, but I get it. First of all, again, not something the hate y'all have towards Derek Carr is mind-boggling, okay? It's literally mind-boggling. But that being said, I get it. You just got to be realistic with what's going to happen next year. If you want, we're not going to entertain any tanking thoughts on this show. Okay. You're going to get called out if you say the Saints should just tank and whatever. If you want them to be competitive at all, if you don't want to go through another year of this complete torture and think they can be good next year, it's got to be Derek Carr. It's literally the only option, in my opinion. Cecil Evans says he's going to start watching until I brought the Rummel guy on. He loves the show, Class of Archbishop Shaw, 1982.
Sheesh, man. That's wow. That's is that where we are now? Man.
Yeah, Megaphone is back on Severn, so it is what it is. I don't know. Gary Thomas Bradford, new to the show. I don't feel we have a future quarterback. I do feel we have played undisciplined and injured. That's true. So I wonder how we could look disciplined and healthy, but I don't have confidence in our quarterback room, which is why I think, Larry, both of us are saying that the future at quarterback for the New Orleans Saints is nowhere near this roster right now.
No. He's playing in college. Heck, he might be in high school for right now. I don't know, but he's not.
Oh, God, I hope not.
Now, okay, I'm not going to say he's not in the NFL because you never know what could happen,
right,
with guys. But he's not on their roster. No, he's nowhere near. He probably doesn't live in the state. Maybe he doesn't even live in the South. I don't know, but the future is not on the roster. No.
All right.
Maybe the immediate future, but not after this year. No.
Yeah. Okay. Last, real quick, Jay Tucker Rafferty. I know you came on the show. You sent some notes the other day, and you're fairly new to the show. The O-line is both Saints' best O-line. Never had a first-round pick in it. Your two best linemen were 4th and 5th-round picks. I'm sorry, but these days it doesn't work that way. You got to have early picks, in my opinion, these days. To have a full line worth of guys that aren't first-round picks, you can't do that anymore, in my opinion. All right.
No, that you don't. It's not often you strike gold. Like, it's smart. You know what? If Joe Alt is there, I'm going to get Joe Alt. Like, that's
right, exactly.
Yeah,
completely agree. Charge says we need to address the trenches on both sides. Will solve a lot of issues. It will. All right. Let me ask you a question that Eric Asher posed. I think he both here on Wednesday's show. I was on his show yesterday, and I think it's a good point. And one thing that does make me nervous about Kellen Moore. Okay, never really asked you your thoughts on Kellen Moore, but the one thing that does concern me, because I'm the Kellen Moore camp. I think he will be good. I think he checks off all the boxes of young, offensive-minded, never coached here in New Orleans. I think he, leader of what? Here's the point. My question to you, and I know you don't agree with. You wanted Aaron Glenn. I get it. He didn't come here. But can Kellen Moore be, quote, a leader of men? Have you seen enough from Kellen Moore to think? I mean, what's been missing from this locker room, and the one thing that Rizzy brought that Dennis Allen never had, is that he's like this, fiery leader of men, quote unquote. Do you think Kellen Moore? Have you seen enough from Kellen Moore to think that he could be that?
No.
No, I know it's a concern.
No, I don't. And so you look at his track record, and he's bounced around as an offensive coordinator. And let's see, the Eagles' offense, I think, got better because they added someone who could just run the ball.
His name is
Saquon Barkley. He didn't become some genius.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't invent the tush push. Like, he didn't.
No, but one thing that they did do in Philadelphia, he didn't do before. Mike McCarthy used to complain about, his problem with Kellen Moore is that he, quote, wanted to light up the scoreboard, which is a terrible thing for an offensive coordinator to want to do. But
Score points. Terrible.
his point was that he didn't like the way that Kellen Moore didn't want to run the ball. Well, that should change this year. It kind of depends on who you have, right? And I mean, they got Saquon, and he wasn't dumb enough to say not going to use him. I thought the schemes that he drew up for both Saquon and Jalen Hurts, I thought they worked well together.
Oh, I agree. There's no doubt. But like you don't have those pieces here. Can Alvin Kamara still be a successful running back? I think so. I actually think I was encouraged to see how he played last year, and still think that there's still some left in the tank for him. So
for sure, it was one of his better seasons in the grand scheme of things.
Right, that's good. But like I'm wondering with him. That is the point I brought up last week and maybe 2 weeks ago with you. That I just see him and I think, man, can he keep a locker room? Will people run through a wall with him? I know it's cliche, but
no, it's true though.
But I mean, you got to buy in to what this guy is telling you, and maybe he is a coach that say like Nick Sirianni and has some assistants up his sleeve, and man, because those help you. Like there's no question those guys can be a game changer. And obviously Kellen Moore certainly helped the Eagles offense kind of get back to where they were, maybe a little different style, but back to scoring points and being prolific like they were a couple of years ago.
This is a great comment right here, Larry, and I think this is a good point. Who that Daddy says, I don't think you have to be a rah-rah SOB to be a leader of men, i.e. Tony Dungy. I mean, Tony Dungy certainly got a lot of respect, but in the grand scheme of things, that's kind of almost a rare breed these days, don't you think?
Yeah, Andy Reid is not some.
No, he's not. He's not. He's not.
He's not. But man, people trust what he's selling, and so do you trust what Kellen Moore is going to be selling? And if not, like if it doesn't work, I mean, do people just say forget about it? And so like that's like people in New England, they did not trust what Jared Mayo was selling. There's no doubt they had lack of talent too, but they weren't trusting what he was selling, and he didn't seem ready for it. Is Kellen Moore ready for it? I don't know. Like I'm not in the room with him. I don't know him at all. Like never met him, so I don't know. But I mean, this is the thing. Like that's why, like the Saints. Did we know a ton about Sean Payton when they hired him? No,
we didn't.
We did not. So they're doing this search. I mean, and if they make this hire, they're probably seeing traits that like, all right, this guy can become something like Payton. Like they have to be looking at it that way. And so, I'm not. To me, you look at the. I liked one guy, he didn't come, and then everybody else I'd have been like, okay, fine. But so like I would give Kellen Moore a chance, but I just say I'm going in more skeptical than I would if my top choice. And we know the Saints' top choice would have been Aaron Glenn.
Oh, there's no question. There's no question of that at all. I think you're 100% spot on. Maybe the Saints listen to the Dattitude podcast presented by Evangeline Securities, because I'm just saying he checks all of the boxes, Larry. I know you don't like my boxes, but I'm just saying he checks all of those boxes. Probably didn't even have black and gold in his closet. He'd have a whole new wardrobe that he'd have to deal with. One, I'm not going to even make a comment on that. Sean's got a good point. His coaching staff would be the key to his success as well. And that's kind of the key almost to anyone. You think about even Sean Payton's best teams. He had great staffs that went with him. I mean, so it wasn't just Sean Payton. Look, Sean Payton's a great coach. No, but I mean, we're not going to debate that. But Sean Payton also had great staffs that went with him.
Look at the Eagles. Their staff left, and then all of a sudden, there was almost they played well, but then there was almost like a mutiny, and then he had to wipe out everybody and bring in all new staff. And guess what? He found better pieces, which I will say, one of them is Kellen Moore.
Yeah,
and Kellen Moore has worked with a lot of offenses and seen a lot of things and probably picked up on a lot of things in the last few years. And look, let's see, who are the quarterbacks that Kellen Moore has worked with lately? So it's Jalen Hurts, but Dak Prescott
and Justin Herbert.
I mean, to me, all of those guys are better than what the Saints have. So
I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah. So, but now again, so he has what I think is great. He has a diverse working with different quarterbacks. We know Jalen runs, Dak and Herbert are more pocket guys. Like, the fact that he's got some diversity means to me maybe he can work with what you have. So
one thing I like more than anything, Larry, is that look, he got with Dak when Dak was a young quarterback. I mean, not that he's old now, but he's older than a lot at this point in his career. But I think you would ask, if you would ask Dak Prescott, I guarantee you he would tell you, give part of his success in his career, give it to Kellen Moore.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt. And it's not like they weren't bad with him. Like they had good offenses and this and that and the other. And, McCarthy's an offensive guy. And look, that's a melting pot. The whole thing is just, you don't know what's going to happen. It's a different animal working in Dallas. So, but yeah, it's like I said, I'm not, I get the hire if they hire him. For me, I would have wanted somebody else. He could come in here and be great. And that would be awesome.
But now with what's left, I mean, you got to say Kellen Moore is the best candidate.
At this point, unless there's some, like, they pull like out of their hat, and people are going to hate this comparison. Like LSU just pulled out Brian Kelly. Maybe the Saints go pull out somebody and
Larry McLean says, I recommend watching Kellen Moore on YouTube. There's footage of him running the offense. He likes it. Okay, good. I mean, I will do. I absolutely will do that. A-Town says, do you mind bringing in a guy who likes to run up the scoreboard? No, I do not. It would definitely put a lot of butts into the seats. I do not mind watching a guy who can light up the scoreboard. So,
do the Saints have the pieces to properly run up a scoreboard? No, they don't.
Say no. I don't know. I think they need an offensive line still, which is a big deal. Who do you think? You got any ideas on? And a lot of people are asking. I mean, who's going to be available for a defensive coordinator? That's a good question.
That is a good question, and I don't know if I have that answer. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
No.
Good morning, L. I know that's L. L sent me an email the other day. I might as well let me grab it real quick as we do this on live TV. I don't know where it went. Oh, I can't do this on live TV. I don't know where it went. Anyway, I don't think L. There it is. L says we are in big trouble. Mrs. Benson, please read the room. Whether we like to or want to believe it, looks like there's more than a salary cap issue with our team. See, I'm not in the camp of, and as we're about to move on because I only got a couple more minutes with you here, Larry, but I'm not in the camp of that nobody wants this job. I'm going to say this. I think Aaron Glenn, because he picked the Jets doesn't mean he didn't want the Saints job. I mean, I think it's rational that he would want the Jets. That's where he played the majority of his career, probably where he knows the most people. I still say Joe Brady, it wasn't because he didn't want this job. It's because Joe Brady got the word. He wasn't getting this job. Mike McCarthy, like you talked about. I mean, it's easy for him to say, oh, I'll just wait until next year and then I can have my pick of the litter. So as bad as it looks, I don't think it's as bad as it looks is my point.
Give your awesome.
No, I mean, the optics of it are terrible. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think it's as bad as the optics show.
I think part of the optics are right. I mean, I think that, but I think there are jobs that were more attractive out there. I mean, I don't think there also
was at least one job that wasn't. I mean, Pete Carroll is going to take some Geritol as he goes into the Raiders.
The Raiders are that to me. That's a worse job. I don't care what Tom Brady's doing. He can't spin, magic. He's not playing.
I mean, I definitely
he's probably the best quarterback in the building.
I don't have a lot of confidence in Liam Cohen. I mean, I'm just saying. So,
yeah, that was a crazy situation too. That was a wild situation.
We don't want you. Okay, I'm taking my name out. Oh wait, we fired the GM. Now we do want you. Bring him in and just who is this guy? I mean, 2 years ago, he was coaching Kentucky, the University of Kentucky. That is just strange. All right, look, before we let you go, I'm going to come back to the Saints when we're done with Larry, but a couple minutes here. I know you're going to be around next week. What is your schedule, by the way, for Radio Row Week? We'll talk about it later, but
as we were on, I got my giant agenda from our NFL managing editor, and I've got things going on, but I will. I'm trying. Yeah, we're gonna have to chat.
yeah, we will have to chat because I'm going to be on Radio Row Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 1:00. We're going to have shows. If you're around any of those times, I'd rather have you around then than maybe on Friday, unless you want to do it like this next Friday. But we can chat about it afterwards.
Friday, I might be out and about.
You might be out and about. We'll figure it out. Anyway, just your early.
I'd rather hit you up on Radio Row because I'll be floating around.
I would rather you do that.
So
I'd rather have you on live. Super Bowl 59. I gotta look at the Roman numerals. I have to keep thinking.
LIX.
I remember Marcus Carmouche used to say, "No alphabet soup. We're not using alphabet soup. Don't use the letters.
It's not
use the
SEO
numbers."
friendly.
Exactly. So I have to figure it out watching the Roman numeral. Just your thoughts on the matchup. I know it's not the matchup that most people wanted, but I think from the beginning of this playoffs, there's no doubt that these have been the two best teams in my mind. And I'm looking forward to it. I know it's a rematch from 2 years ago, so there's not even newness in that aspect. But I think Chiefs-Eagles, Andy Reid getting to go against his old team, and Jalen Hurts getting another chance to go up against Mahomes, and a chance for Sirianni to avenge that awful finish. I just think there's lots of storylines in this game.
They're definitely the best two teams. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's apparent, and for that, it should be a great game. I know you're tired of it, and everybody's tired of it. I mean, we got a story of like that ran earlier this week just about how people hate the Chiefs, and that they're becoming just like people are tired of them, and that happens when you win a lot. Happens to the Patriots, Yankees, you name it, any kind of dynasty type of team. So I get it, but look. I think, and we've mentioned his name a couple of times on here already, the Eagles having a crack at him with Saquon Barkley, I think is a different element to this time around.
We're going to make our picks next week, whatever day you come on. I
think my pick's already public. I think it got
published. Is it? So you picked the Eagles? You're betting against God again?
Again. I did it 2 years ago, and I'm doing it again. I didn't last year. 2 years ago.
But you've done it during the playoffs on the show, I think you've bet against. Didn't you take Buffalo last week?
Yeah,
didn't you take Baltimore against Buffalo the week before that?
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not betting.
Ask Callie and answer your question. Are fans allowed on Radio Road? No, you have to have a credential to be on.
No, fans can go Monday night.
They can go Monday night to media night. You can go to the Dome on media night. Now, good luck getting to
Taylor
the Dome.
Swift asking questions to Travis Kelce.
Oh, I can't wait to see. I'll definitely take pictures and put that on the show.
I will not be doing that.
I will be there on Monday night as well. If you do go, if any of you go and they're in the stands, yell at me. I'm probably close to the stands.
There's an hour break between when one team goes and the other, so there's plenty of time to heckle all of us media.
Yeah, and also if you are going to go to media night on Monday night, make sure you check out the road closures and find out where you're going to park, because it ain't going to be fun. There are lots of road closures, including Poitras and basically everywhere around the Superdome. It is not going to be fun to get there at all. Before I let you go, I have one last question on that is not related to football. It's something that I mean, it kind of bothers me. What? You got that bookcase there behind you, okay? That's where the Christmas tree was.
Yes.
Where does that bookcase go when the Christmas tree is up?
It goes there. That blank space, it just moves like 2 feet.
Do you have to take all the books out of it to move it?
No, a steady hand, man. Steady hand. And they have an hourglass up there with sand. Steady hand.
The sands of time move the bookcase throughout the Larry Holder household.
Speaking of the days of our lives, my friend, come on. Soap opera time.
We will figure out when you will be here next, but I'm looking forward to it already. It'll either be on Radio Row on the show next Friday, but at some point, we will do our best to have Larry Holder on the Dattitude podcast.
My bet is Wednesday.
Sounds good to me.
I'm looking at my bet is Wednesday.
All right. Wednesday sounds good. Maybe it'll be that. All right. Talk to you then.
Okay.
Larry Holder, everyone. I didn't even have a chance to click the remove button. He was ready to go, man. Ugh. All right, before we get to Gabe, we can go back to the Saints for a couple minutes. Look, then there was some comments that I didn't necessarily get to. Ron Rivera or Rex Ryan as DC. I don't want anyone named Ryan. I want no one named Ryan. Do you remember the last time we had a Ryan coaching for this team? Historically, bad defense. Now, I don't know what that has to do with, I don't know, with anything. Just saying. Hell to the no. Charles says, hope I'm kidding. No Taylor Swift picks. Oh, if Larry dresses up like Taylor Swift, you can bet your sweet bippy I'm putting that on the show. There is no way that's not going to be on the show some sort of way. Apathy says Sean Payton had Curtis Johnson who roasted players. We're going to hear him from the bleachers at those training camps. Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of part of the whole thing, you know. I mean, if Kellen Moore, look, Sean Payton had his own fire in his own way. He wasn't necessarily, he's not necessarily a fiery coach, but he could be fiery at times. Did he grow into that, or was he always like that? I don't know the answer. Okay. But I have belief in a guy. Now, while he only played 2 games, or he played 3 games, he started 2 games in the NFL. I have belief in a guy who did what he did in college at Boise State. Again, 50-3 in 4 seasons as a starter, 2-time All-American. Some people don't think that means anything, but to me, it does. It does. Oh, Lord. Get ready. Chicken Little. The sky is falling. Brian Cavitt's here. At this point, the Saints are so late to the assistant pool, all the best guys will be gone. It'll be fine. The sky's not falling. Trust me. All right. We told you earlier we would let you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family-run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. How do they do it? Well, after their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process from established private equity funds from around the world. The whole world. And they will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, and none with their dedication and success. Hurry up and call before Nick becomes the Saints' next general manager. They are fully licensed. They are ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. I ain't talking about Kellen Moore, Mickey Loomis, Saints coaching search. I ain't talking about any of that. What am I talking about? The rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. All right, we're going to finish the show with talking about the Saints, but I have no idea what Gabe is going to get into. Real quick, Adam Varner says, players follow a good coach. You don't have to be flashy like Dan Campbell. You don't have to go for it on 4th and 6 on your own 45 either, Adam Varner. He thinks Kellen Moore will be excellent as a head coach. I hope it's him, and we don't have to go through this. Brian says he's got to give me something to raise the blood pressure. That's why I always take my blood pressure medicine right before I start the show. Just in case some of you jokesters like to press my buttons. Speaking of pressing my buttons, what you got for me this morning, Gabe Henderson?
Duval.
Don't make me.
He did a second one.
Don't do it. He did not do a second one.
He did a second one. They gave him a second crack at it, and it wasn't. It was weird. It was still really weird. Let me.
Hold on. If y'all are listening out there and y'all don't know what we're talking about, and I didn't know when Gabe came on the show Wednesday and was talking about this, I looked and he was right. I think I watched it like 10 times in a row. I couldn't stop watching it.
You can't look away.
Liam
Seriously.
Cohen, the new coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, at his opening press conference, I guess was asked to give the Duval chant, and he
opened up with it.
he opened up.
Own.
He opened with it without being prompted. That's even worse. He goes, Duval. It was
you got to do
really,
the look away and just kind of.
You're right.
So
it's awkward.
So I sent the second one. I sent a second attempt to my friends, and this was the response that one of my friends gave us. He said, I sent the clip along with a message that said it's still really bad, and my friend said this one has more of a sinister aura to it instead of the childlike wonder associated with the first one.
Wow. I mean, I know there's a way to show YouTube videos on here. I just don't know how, and so I'm not going to try to do it on live TV. But wow,
you got to do a Twitter video downloader, and you've got to download that. And then
well, next maybe we'll show it. Who knows? But I don't know. You got something better for me than Duval, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, well, this was a thought that I had this morning. You know, we talked about. And I'll get into what I really wanted to talk about after this, but this was just a spontaneous thought that I wanted to bring up. We spent some time not arguing, but debating the hierarchy of the jobs, and obviously it comes
we have fun
down
with it,
to it comes down to which candidate wants what qualities, in a team. But I think one thing that this has shown is maybe the Saints' job isn't as highly regarded as the others, as they've had multiple candidates turn them down, and it's dragged on.
I mean, I can't argue with you at this point on that.
And here's the thing, though. In saying that, I'll kind of play devil's advocate to myself. The Saints have done a really thorough job throughout this process, and I don't think anyone can deny that. And that's why I think some people are still being a little bit tolerant of them taking this long. But,
well, that was the point of my question to Larry towards the end there when I asked, like, is it really as bad when you talk about who turned them down, who pulled their names out, and when they pulled their names out? And you can make a case for all those things. These are why. Now, is the reason why for all of those people because they didn't want the job or something else happened? I mean, maybe one or two of them, the reason simply is they didn't want to work here. I mean, that is a possibility. But I just think when you apply common sense to things, and like we talked about, and you gave me the Diana Rossini story this morning, or about what she said in our podcast. If you weren't here this morning and you missed the first part of the show, the Athletics Diana Rossini says on our podcast, the podcast called Scoop City, you can find it on YouTube, that there was, quote, scuttlebutt that Kellen Moore might not want the job, but, quote, he's coming around to it. So that's not contradictory at all.
No, I mean, well, here's the thing. I don't think it is. And here's what I took away from that is, he's interviewed twice now with the Saints.
Yeah.
And maybe in that first meeting, he kind of looked at the team and they kind of laid out their expectations for him. And he was like, I don't know if I could really meet. Because let's be honest with ourselves. The Saints are going to have to rebuild. They're not going to win anytime soon. And in the NFL, coaching is a cutthroat business. I mean, hell, I look at my team. My team had 2 one-and-dones before they landed on D'Amico
I will
Ryan.
say this, though.
So I think what Kellen Moore wants is those assurances that, hey, it might be a little rough at the beginning, but you're going to stick with me. And I think that's really what he wanted. That's what he's coming around on is, they flew out to Philly to give him set assurances. That's how I view it, at least.
And look, and I know everybody's going to type in Drew Brees, but go back and put yourself in time. And I know you were just a little kid back then, but you go back in time to 2006, okay, 19 years ago. You go back in time, they hire Sean Payton. They coming off a 3-13 season. There were holes in the roof of the Superdome. Who the hell knew what was going to happen? There was talks that the Saints were going to move to San Antonio permanently. And here comes this dude, Sean Payton. Who the hell is Sean Payton? And Drew Brees, he's coming off a shoulder injury. That's who your quarterback's going to be. And then they go in and they make a run all the way to the NFC Championship game. So to just say, and I get it, Drew Brees, whatever. Nobody knew Drew Brees was going to be Drew Brees, okay? I'm just saying that you never know. A coach comes in here. I know I'm in the minority, but I think there is enough talent if you can add pieces along both fronts and help a little bit, maybe linebacker, maybe add one more weapon on offense. That can all be done in a year. I'm not saying this team is going to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not even suggesting that this team is going to go to the NFC Championship game. I'm just saying that stranger things have happened when a coach comes in here and changes the attitude, the mentality, and you have a coach that potentially could, quote unquote, light up the scoreboard with, Alvin Kamara. If he has a season like he had this year when he wasn't injured or when they didn't need to play him and didn't, you look at if Olave can avoid the damn concussions, if you get Rashid Shaheed back and he has a great year, I don't know, there's just all sorts of things, and I know they would all have to come together, but they all came together in 06, and I just don't think that it's that far out of line to say that someone could come in and at least make next season fun, and to me, that would be a great step one.
Here's my takeaway from what you just said. The word "if" was doing a hell of a lot of heavy lifting.
For sure. There's no doubt.
And I don't think the Saints can address everything that they need in one offseason. You just don't. Yeah, I know you're going to hit back and say they've always found the money. They don't have enough money or draft capital to be able to fill all of the holes in this team. Hell.
No, it has to be done mostly in the draft.
Exactly. And you look at, you say they need to address the offensive and defensive lines as their 1A, 1B concerns. I don't even know if you can do all of that in one off season.
I think you can. At least to make. I don't think you can do it to be where
you can make it better.
Be.
You can't make it playoff caliber, because let's be honest. If all of those things happen, if everything comes together, the Saints get all those guys back, they stay healthy, they play well. If the Saints play as well as they were playing in the first few weeks of the season, and we see that team come out, they maybe get bounced in the division round.
Think about
that's
where
maybe their ceiling.
No, that's a legit point.
And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that to be negative. I'm just
no. It's a legit point. I think that's fair. But what I'm saying is, take yourself back. If you don't want to go back to 06, take yourself back to 2023 with an awful coach. Okay, it's not that far off from a very similar roster to what the team's not that much different personnel wise, with a horrendous football coach, and that team was just one loss by Tampa Bay or one more win by the Saints away from getting into the playoffs that year. So to get in the playoffs, they don't have to do that much to get in the playoffs in this horrible division. All they got to do, in my opinion, is keep Derek Carr upright, and they'll be good enough to compete in the NFC South. You think about where they were 5-5 with Derek Carr. Is that good? No, it's not good. It's not acceptable either. But in this division, if you go 9-8, you got a chance to make the playoffs. And to me, I'm not saying that's the end goal, but if you can do that next year and make it entertaining and fun and make that a step one, to me, that would be a great start. And I think they absolutely can do that.
But what do you get out of that?
What do I get out of that? Season where I don't have to be miserable.
I know.
And positivity going forward.
I know you get to watch, but what's positive about that?
What do you mean what's positive about it? You go from 5-12 to 9-8 in competitive?
Yeah, but here's the thing, Jim. You're not going to have a young core. You're not going to do that with a young core. You're going to have these same old dudes. You're going to have 1-year rental free agents.
No, because then you're going to start turning over.
You're kicking the can down the road.
No, you're not kicking the can. You're missing the point, okay? You bring positivity with this team, okay? You got a bunch of names and rosters and salaries coming off of this ridiculous cap spot. If you bring positivity, because look what was Sean Payton able to do after that NFC Championship game? He was able to get free agents to want to come here. And to me, that's going to be the sticking point. It's not the cap. Forget about it. You're not kicking the can down the road if you bring positivity into this team.
No,
and you
I'm not saying
you say, you know what? Kellen Moore can do a good job. I do want to go play there. And so that's the first thing you need to do. You can't do that by losing, in my opinion. If you go 4-13 or 5-12 again, or 6-11 or whatever it is, and you're just kind of strolling along doing nothing, you have to prove to free agents that are on the fence and say, yeah, if it's out of the Saints and, I don't know, Bears, let's say, and the Bears look like their future is way more promising, they're going to want to go to the Bears. I'm just saying, and I'm using those two teams, it could be whatever. It could be any two teams. But you got to bring positivity. You got to make the fans even care, because even the fans don't care right now. And you don't even have the fans on your side right now.
But if you look at it, you say the positivity would bring people to the Saints, but realistically, if let's say everything we just talked about happens, you win the division, you get bounced in the divisional round. What is the draw there other than positivity? I mean, half your roster is going to get overturned. Your quarterback of the future is not on your roster. So there's nothing, you're not going to compete for anything. So there's no real draw there. Sure, you might get a lot of money once that cap situation gets fixed.
The kick in the can has always been assigned to the salary cap portion of the thing. They're not going to do that anymore.
I know.
So you're not kicking the can by going 9-8, trying to win and go 9-8. That doesn't kick any cans. You're just trying to go through a season full of misery.
I just think this team needs a hard reset. And I'm not saying to tank.
You can have a hard reset and still win.
Who's done it?
I don't know. You want me to go through and study it and come back and tell you Monday?
I'm curious. I cannot think of an example.
The Saints did it in 2006. I'm telling you what happened. They laid the foundation. I'm saying you need to lay a foundation.
That's Jim. 2006 was almost 20 years ago. Who's done it?
I'm talking about this team. With this team, yeah, I'm not going to go. I'm not going through every other team. Look, you watched miserable football. You know what I'm talking about.
I haven't. I watched my team completely reset itself.
Right, and you know what's a reset? There's only one reset really that's really needed for this team besides digging in the trenches. They need to reset at quarterback. They're going to have a reset. So you bring in someone like a C.J. Stroud in a couple of years, or trade, or make a trade, or bring some young free agent, or whatever it is. There's all sorts of different ways. All it takes for this fan base to get positive, and that's what, to me, that's where everything starts. It starts by the fan base believing that something can happen, because right now they don't believe. And so you bring in a young quarterback.
I don't know if Kellen Moore gives them reason to believe.
I think. Well, of course not now. That's why I'm saying next year is important. It's important for them to compete and be good.
Nothing about this roster inspires me.
You don't have to be inspired. You're a Texans fan.
I know, but I'm trying to speak partially here. I mean, nothing. If I'm looking at this Saints roster as a Saints fan, nothing inspires me.
This is a perfect point. As I cut myself because I want to get something. I put something on my phone to be able to talk about this. Hold on. Don't say anything yet.
No. Well, here's the thing with the Commanders.
There's a quote out here from someone. I don't even know who this guy. It's a roto guy. Okay, but apparently it's pretty big deal. Okay. Who thought the Commanders were going to the NFC Championship? No one. And here's the point. Last year, I think this guy is actually a Commanders fan. Commanders having one of the worst off seasons I can recall from a new regime. Remember, no one wanted the Commanders job, by the way. Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler, and Bobby Wagner as marquee signings. Retread head coach Dan Quinn, who was far from the first choice, and ass backwards Kingsbury at OC. Cherry on top will be if they pass on May for Jaden Daniels. So,
well, that's just someone's crazy opinion.
Well, I know, but forget about the Jaden Daniels part. The rest of it is
tell you the difference.
The Saints are in exactly the same boat with the rest of it.
Yeah, let's just brush aside the single most important
Jaden Daniels. I get it,
football.
But you're missing my point.
Jaden Daniels, we've said it on this show, is special. And you look at the last 2 seasons, and you see these teams that have risen from the ashes to make the playoffs, the Texans and the Commanders. The quarterback is the difference. And that's why I'm saying there's nothing here for the Saints. If you keep winning, you're not going to get that quarterback.
If you think,
and I'm not advocating for tanking.
I'm going to go to your point though. What you just said is, quote, there's nothing here, and I'm putting words in your mouth. I'm paraphrasing. There's nothing here to get excited about with the Saints. If fans think that way and no one thinks that it's going to happen, then it's not going to happen. Okay. You have to go in it. I'm going to go into 2025 the same way I went into 2024. I was wrong. I thought the Saints had a chance. I didn't say they were going to, because I predicted 7-10. But I thought they had a chance if things went right. If didn't happen, we can always say if, that things could start to get better. They got way worse. Okay. But it's somewhere along the way you hit your floor, and fans need to believe. And there are too many fans right now, like Brian Cavett, and the sky is falling, and lots of people like Brian. I just think that the sky is not falling, and I don't agree think you're not that far away.
And I think you do too. There's no franchise changing quarterback in this draft.
No, there's not.
Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So it is the perfect time to just hit reset.
You are. You can still hit.
I know
it's not the perfect time to hit the reset, and I'm going to tell you why. The perfect time is after this year. You cannot hit reset with the salaries that you have on this roster. You can't just cut them. You don't have enough money to get anyone else.
I'm not saying you cut them.
Okay. So what are you saying? You don't want to win. You're saying,
here's what I'm saying.
There's either you want to win
or
or
you don't want to win. You don't want to win. And
I
know you're going to hate that. You're going to.
No, I don't hate it. I'm saying I don't. You can. Anybody can say whatever I want to win. I don't give a damn.
Such thing.
I want to win.
But would you rather go 9-8?
I would rather win.
Would you rather go 9-8 and win the division for the next 5 years, or would you rather take a year or two to watch crappy football and then have a Super Bowl contender?
I'd rather win and go 9-8, and I'm going to tell you why. Losing doesn't guarantee that you're going to. It doesn't even help you. It doesn't even help you. It does not. Just because your team got lucky and got.
I'm not saying my team. There are
Carolina sucked ass 2 years ago, and they still suck ass. Okay,
That's because of their coaching decisions.
Okay, that's because is the same thing as if. Okay, you can hindsight's 20/20. Because is the same as if. You can go back and look and say, oh, I bet you there are a lot of Panthers fans says, I want to tank so we can get Bryce Young. Well, guess what? You tanked, you got Bryce Young, and you're still in the same boat. I want to win. I want to win every year.
I don't think they are. I think Bryce Young actually showed a lot of promise to end last year.
Well, I don't disagree with that. But my point is,
I know.
You can go back 2 years ago. He stunk for 2 years.
Me personally, and this is what I went through. I would rather my team hit a hard reset, endure when I say 1 to 2 years of tanking, everyone associates tanking with losing everything. You can still be competitive in your tank. You can still have competitive games.
I am never going to use the word tank. It's the dumbest thing ever. It doesn't help anything.
It goes back to what Mike Detillier said at the beginning of the year. The Saints are in football purgatory. And if they do what you said, if they make the playoffs next year as a division winner, they are still going to be in football purgatory.
Here's another reason why I disagree with you, and I'm sure that the fans will probably be on your side on this one. I'm not 100% sold that Derek Carr can't be if the Saints do go 9-8 and take that big step forward, and things look different. I mean, you could go 9-8 and look they looked in 23, where this team sucks. Okay, they're 9-8 and they suck, but then there's 9-8 and you're like, oh, this team's not that bad, and things are different. So I'm not saying Derek Carr's young enough to where Kellen Moore, if he does come in here, they could say, guess what? Maybe he's better than he thinks we're. Maybe that guy is the future quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years. Because let me tell you something. Cut this clip. Don't put it out of the question. It absolutely can happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it can happen.
Father Time is undefeated, and it's catching up.
34 years old.
How many quarterbacks play past 34? He turns 34 in March.
Okay.
He turned 34 in March.
Plenty. 34 is not that old.
For a quarterback, it is.
No, for a defensive lineman, it is. For a linebacker, it is. For a running back, it certainly is. For a wide receiver, it is, but not for a quarterback.
How many starting quarterbacks in the NFL are over 34 right now?
Well, you want me to tell you Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady?
Aaron Rodgers sucks. No. We're not. I'm talking current 32 teams starting quarterbacks. How many are over 34?
I have not historically. No earthly
We're not
idea.
pulling out the historical
I have zero
outliers.
Clue.
Here's what I'm doing with this question. I'm giving you the exact scenario that you always talk about with Brock Purdy, the one you used with Spencer Rattler. You remember how people used to pull Tom Brady as the historical outlier? Don't pull historical outliers.
No, I don't care.
Look at 32 teams in the NFL. How many starting quarterbacks are over the age of 34?
I have no idea, Gabe. I don't know.
Well, let's go through.
I don't know. I don't know everybody's birthday. I don't know.
How old's Russell Wilson?
I have no clue.
36.
I have no clue.
Russell Wilson is 36. Okay, so there's one in the NFC North.
We don't have time to go by every division. That's something we'll have to talk about on Monday.
34 is old for a quarterback. Matt Stafford, that's a good one.
I completely disagree.
Gino,
these days it's not, because they play flag football when it comes to quarterbacks. Stafford,
it's still old, and there's a reason that quarterbacks are all younger. But that's the difference to me between a team like the Commanders and the team like the Saints.
Stafford's 36. He won the Super Bowl at 33. He's going to be 37. It's 34. So he won the Super Bowl at 34.
Stafford's a Hall of Famer.
So
right? He's fantastic.
I mean, we keep saying names, and you're like, well, don't count him. Don't count him.
No, I
don't
never
count
said
him,
don't count him. I never said don't count him at all. I asked a
Okay, you're
genuine
saying
question.
don't count Tom Brady.
Because Tom Brady's not a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Well, he was when he was 34.
Tom Brady's the outlier. He is the
Drew Brees was 34, and Rodgers
the one
34.
person who was
Kirk
defined
Cousins was
Father
good
Time.
when he was 34. He sucks now. I
Who?
mean, there's lots of people that were good at age 34 in the last 20 years.
There were, but if you look at the 32 teams, more often than not, the quarterbacks are out of the league or taking backup roles by 34, and there's a reason for that.
Why Kittle was 34? Maybe he was, Kyle. I don't even know.
Maybe.
Dude was balding and
we
gray.
talk about different eras. That was a very different era.
Johnny U was 34.
Yeah. So it's a different era of football, and
You look. We're
wrap
extending
this
this.
up.
Well, yeah, wrap it up because this conversation is getting way too. This is conversation for off season.
To wrap it
way
up,
too long.
the reason that I don't think you should want, and you're always going to disagree with me on this, and that's fine. I think hitting a hard reset and accepting mediocrity for a year gives you the best chance at landing a franchise quarterback.
I think it's
a chance. It's a chance.
It's a chance.
I mean,
You might as well win and take
it's
a
a
chance.
crapshoot.
Right, exactly.
Analysis,
I 100% agree. I agree with you.
The analogy
100%.
that I used in an article recently for another thing is it's like shooting fish in a barrel from 100 yards away.
Agree
with a Nerf
wholeheartedly.
gun.
All of that I
It's
agree
a
with.
crapshoot. All of it's a
100%
crapshoot.
agree.
Nothing is guaranteed.
100% agree.
But I think even that small chance, you have a better percentage of competing for a Super Bowl in the future than if you just keep
Says who?
sticking in football purgatory.
San Francisco, weren't they pretty good when they got Brock Purdy, and where'd they get him? That was just luck. I get it.
But
I mean, who knows?
But let's not sit here and compare San Francisco's roster to New Orleans' roster.
I'm just saying.
You're saying that team they needed.
Okay,
that team all they needed was a quarterback.
The fact that you say that this is a crapshoot, which I 100% agree. I'd rather have a crapshoot where I win next year than a crapshoot where I don't win. So, and lastly, before we let you go, here's something that we do agree on. Charles Manga says Stafford is not a Hall of Famer.
Yes,
I completely disagree.
Absolutely is. He is a lock.
I don't think there's any question that Matt Stafford's going to be a Hall of Famer.
No. None at all.
I mean,
I'll end with this. The difference between a team like the Commanders and a team like the 49ers, who we're talking about, both made that jump. The 49ers, all they were missing was a quarterback. The Commanders are more like the Saints in the sense that they have a lot of holes to fill on the roster.
Right.
And they got an electric quarterback to help mask some of those problems. We'll
have plenty of time to talk about this. I mean, I hear you, but I completely disagree. I'm never gonna. What you're saying is tank without saying tank, because the word tank pisses me off. So you're not.
I know tank pisses you off, and I think you
I'm
can
never
also have
ever gonna advocate. There's no.
I get it. I get
there's
it.
only one way to.
I just think to me, some scenarios you have to, and this is one of those scenarios.
All right, we will see you Monday, one way or the other. It should be interesting. What's your schedule like Monday? Do you know?
Busy.
Okay. Well, you're gonna be able
to Super Bowl prep. I'll probably be able to jump on, but I've got.
We'll figure it out. We'll have you on it some kind of way. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good.
By the way, going back to what Gabe and I talking about in Charles Mangus, Matt Stafford. Here are the names of players who have played in the NFL. There's only he's not even necessarily active, but here are the players who have more passing yards than Matthew Stafford in the history of the National Football League. And I'll go from 9 to 1. Yes, he's 10th. Dan Marino, Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady. So in other words, they're either all in the Hall of Fame, or all going to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm no Phillip Rivers fan, but Phillip Rivers is going to be in the Hall of Fame as well. Again, I think Phillip Rivers was probably exact with one Super Bowl. Breeze had one was greatness. Are you crazy? I'm just asking. I mean, Matt Stafford is like close to he's not going to be, but he's pretty close to a first ballot Hall of Fame. That's how much I'm sure he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Matt Stafford made the Detroit Lions good. You know how hard that is to do? They're still part of the reason why the Detroit Lions are good now is because of the foundation that Matt Stafford and his teams laid there. Jay Tucker Rafferty says, hitting a hard reset does not work. It destroys franchises. You have to look at the draft and see what's coming. My problem with I'm not saying I disagree with everything that Gabe says, because I am actually in for the hard reset. But when I say hard reset, I think it's something that can be done over the course of time. Okay. I don't think that someone needs to come in here and whoever it is, whether it's Kellen Moore or whoever, I don't think anyone needs to come in and say, you know what? First of all, again, like I told Gabe, and I know he's not saying this, so I'm not trying to put words in his mouth. But you can't come in here right away. There's nothing you can do about next year, okay? There's literally almost nothing. The only thing you can do for next year is get rid of some of the people that you can scratch off the books. Chase Young, scratched off the books, and go forward. Guys that you can scratch them off now, okay? The only thing you can do really right now is have a good draft and get those guys in here and start 2 or 3 or 4 of them, and hopefully they contribute. Then after this year, you can get a lot of names off the books, and you can start looking about where the cap's going to be in 2 years. But along the way, it doesn't mean that you have to lose on. I mean, first of all, you're not going to lose on purpose. I don't even think Gabe's even saying that lose on purpose, because you don't like. It's not like here we go, fumble the football. No, that's not what anybody's saying. But you can win. There is enough talent here to win. Because the reason why I know that is because there was enough talent here to win this year if they could have protected for Derek Carr. Think about those first 4 games of the season. They went 2-2. And who they played and how they did. Okay, you beat the snot out of Carolina. They stunk. Bryce Young wasn't good until the second half of the season anyway. I get it. Dallas was a cluster F, but they weren't in week 2. Then the Philadelphia Eagles come here to New Orleans. You lose 15-12. They played tight, had a chance, scored at the end. Derek Carr leads them to a score at the end of the game, which could have potentially been a game-winning drive, and the defense faltered. Dennis Allen's defense faltered. Should have been, coulda, woulda, shoulda, 3-0. Then you go to Atlanta. You don't allow a touchdown. Again, Derek Carr leads them to potentially the game-winning touchdown, and you blow that one, and now you're 2-2, and the wheels fall off when Derek Carr gets hurt in Kansas City. What I'm saying is that team, the team that started this year, is going to be pretty similar to the one that's going to start next year with a different coach and a couple more pieces to protect your quarterback, your first-string quarterback. It could be. And again, it's an if. Absolutely, it's an if. You can do a hard rebuild, a hard reset. I'm with Gabe on the hard reset part. I just don't think it needs to be done at one time. I think it can be done over the course of a couple of years. And while I'm going along the hard reset, I mean, the only thing that losing does is get you a better draft pick, and it makes you a loser. Better draft pick doesn't mean a better spot in the draft, I should say, not necessarily a better draft pick. That doesn't mean you're going to get the best player. I mean, how many times have we heard on this show from people, some fans, just tank, go 2-15 and get Arch Manning? You know what? You might go 2-15 and the Patriots go 1-16. Is it likely? No. But it's certainly going to. So what would that get for you? You want Arch Manning so bad. What happens if you draft second? And whoever's drafting first either needs a quarterback or trades their pick to get a quarterback. I mean, who trades their pick to someone who needs a quarterback and wants to jump over you. Then what? Like Larry said, there's even no guarantee that Arch is coming out after this year. to all the people that are saying they got to run, I'm about to run myself. For sure, have a great weekend. I'm just saying. And Elijah, just because I disagree with you, again, we show opinions that I don't agree with. And I like the way you put it here. As long as you're not silly about it. Elijah says, listen, I know the mixed reactions on Spencer Rattler with an actual coaching staff and not some idiot. That's true. Dennis Allen. That was way over his head. Dennis Allen threw the kid to the wolves. The kid has talent. I disagree. I just don't think, first of all, to roll with Spencer Rattler, that would do what Gabe wants to do. You want a hard reset, you start Gabe. You start Gabe. Yeah, you'd have a hard reset if you started Gabe. But you'd have a hard reset if you started Spencer Rattler, because this team, I'm telling you right now, Spencer Rattler is 2-15 country. I don't know what anyone saw from him. I don't care who he had out there. He threw to his first read about, go back and look at some of the film. You got any of it on tape? If you don't, you can find it on YouTube. Go back and look at some of what Spencer Rattler did. Even his best plays. He made there were a couple throws he made that I thought were fantastic. There's a certain throw down. I don't even remember who he threw it to. I think it was the first start when they had that crazy second quarter against Tampa Bay. Long throw. I want to say it was to Shaheed, but I'm not 100% sure. Whatever it is, I mean a dime. But it was his first read. It was his hot read. That's the only read he knows to go to. That doesn't change, in my opinion. You can get a little better, but not good enough to play in the NFL. He wasn't that good in college. We've been through this. Charles is asking who's better, Stafford or Goff. That's not even close. That's not even in the same ballpark. That's like who's better, Spencer Rattler or Lamar Jackson. It's not even in the same ballpark. I don't even think I've ever heard anyone ask me that question before. They're the same. Okay. Woohoo! Cuckoo! Cuckoo! Love you, Charles. Not so. All right. Jay Tucker Rafferty, 100%. Add some playmakers and better depth through the draft. You can get playmakers later in the draft, too. That's what I'm saying. You dig in the trenches those first couple rounds. Get your diamond in the rough in the third round. Who knows? I just think things are going to, first of all, the whole attitude, no matter what coach comes in here, I guess I can't say that. I think there's an excellent chance that a new coach brings new life to this team. And I think that attitudes are going to be at least a little bit more positive going into next year. That's my opinion. That is going to wrap it up. Again, reminder about the schedule next week. Next week, we got Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from Radio Row at 1 p.m. Hope you can all join us then. I'm hoping to have picking up guests from, I don't know how it works. Is it you just walk along Radio Row and say, hey, want to come on the Dattitude podcast? I don't know. Excuse me. I know I've been getting tons and tons of emails. I know at some point next week, we're certainly going to have a Caesars Sportsbook rep to talk odds. There's a BetMGM guy. I want to talk about some odds next week and how they come up with these odds. Maybe some good player props. Who knows? Maybe I'll reach out to Adam Chernoff, possibly. We'll see how it goes, but hopefully we'll be able to grab some people along Radio Row and they'll come on. So Monday may not be Mono Monday. It may be. I'm going to have my computer with me, so we will certainly take comments and questions like we have been. That's not going to change. So we will have fun again Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday on Radio Row. Thursday will be a day off somewhat. And then Friday, next Friday, a week from today, I'll be back in the home studio. We may or may not have a guest. I have no idea. But I'll be back in the home studio next Friday. And then I'll be at the Super Bowl a week from Sunday. 9 days away from the Super Bowl. Again, a reminder tonight, if you want to hear me do some play-by-play, Varsity Sports Now, number one Shaw Number one, Zachary. And then tomorrow, I'm actually doing college basketball on Varsity Sports Now. I'll be doing Loyola, the Wolfpack, women and men, tomorrow noon and 2 p.m. on Varsity Sports Now. The Loyola Wolfpack playing some college basketball. I got them in a couple weeks. I got a Loyola baseball coming up in a couple weeks. So anyway, check us out, VSN. That is going to wrap it up. That's going to wrap up the month of January. Charles, you say this is a great show. It's still the best show on podcasts. Well, you are one of the best members of the Dattitude family because you are here every day. I know a lot of y'all are starting to come every day. Who dat, Daddy? Great show. Y'all have a great weekend. Who dat? Let's see. S. Callie can't wait. It is going to be fun. I thank all of y'all for being a part of the show because that's who today's guests were. Larry Holder, Gabe Henderson, and you, as always. And you will be a part of the show again next week. Monday, when we'll welcome in who knows who. I've already told Gabe, I think we're just going to have a generic overlay. I'm not going to even put names on here. So we'll just see who we get. It might be somebody walking in, hey, you want to come on the show? I don't know. It might be that. Who knows? Maybe we'll have some of the local experts around too. A reminder to subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. Click the little bell to receive notifications when we go in the air live. Of course, you can always find us wherever you get your podcasts, like some of you are listening after the fact right now, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. You can also find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. You can find me at bet.NOLA.com. You can also check out all of our Saints Insiders. The Saints Insiders have their own YouTube page, and they have their own page on NOLA.com, NOLA.com/Saints. Zeb Fody. Hi there. Great podcast. Thank you. Why don't you come check us out over at YouTube? Just subscribe, even if you want to watch on Facebook. We appreciate it. We will see you next week. Have a wonderful, beautiful, warm. It is warm outside. It's getting up to like 63 degrees today. I think over the weekend it's getting to like 74. Awesome. Uncle Big Nick is well, he's on a cruise, so it's 85 wherever he is. Have a glorious weekend, my friends. We will see you Monday from Radio Row. Till then, take it easy.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.